Okay, I would like you to start by picturing this. It's October, and you're trying to think of what costume to wear for Halloween. You hear a group of people throwing out some ideas, maybe Disney princesses. You got things like Moana, Pocahontas, Mulan. But then you think to yourself, well, at what point does my costume no longer become a costume and just me trying to emulate somebody from a specific culture? Cultural appropriation is harmful to society, and especially the people it attempts to emulate. I've witnessed many examples firsthand, including some that I will share with you guys today. First, I will clarify what I mean by cultural appropriation, and then once we're all on the same page, I will describe how social media exacerbates the problem and the harm that this does to minority cultures. Now, what is cultural appropriation? Oxford Languages defines it as the unacknowledged or inappropriate adoption of the customs, practices, and ideas of one people of society by members of another, and typically more dominant people or society. The dominant group is thus deemed more innovative or edgy, whereas the marginalized groups are still seen as unintelligent and less than. Some examples of cultural appropriation can be seen through use of clothing, language, food, and even dance. So you've probably heard the phrase, modern problems require modern solutions. Our modern problem is social media and the speed and ease at which things can be sent, copied, reposted, and shared. And this is directly related to cultural appropriation. I personally have seen many instances where white people are using historically black hairstyles, such as box braids or cornrows, which is wrong, first of all, because it's not made for their type of hair, but secondly, they don't understand the historical significance of the hairstyles that they're using. Another common occurrence is the use of mehndi, or henna, which is used for ceremonial purposes in Indian culture, but on TikTok, people have popularized the idea of using it to make faux freckles or decorate themselves for fun. Even without social media, many people are under the impression that they can use anything that they see and like from another culture with no regard to the people that they're taking it from. Here in Washington, we have a lot of Native American culture, which unfortunately leads to appropriation of that Native American culture. People dress up as natives for costumes, and in Scouts BSA, there are other harmful practices using headdresses and other ceremonial pieces of clothing in a way that has nothing to do with the cultural tradition that the Native Americans have it for. This instead fuels misinformation, bias, and racism amongst those groups. Native Americans don't have the privilege that white people have. When non-people of color choose to take these things and use them for fun or for aesthetics, it undermines the experiences that this minority culture faced. Native Americans can't just take off a costume at the end of the day and forget the fact that their ancestors were victims of a mass genocide and having their homes taken from them. While costumes or hairstyles might sound harmless on their own, we often forget how this can negatively affect marginalized groups. That being said, I hope it has become more clear to you what cultural appropriation is and how it affects communities. The history and discrimination felt by a culture is undermined by appropriation, and I urge you all to make a point to recognize and avoid doing things that could be culturally insensitive.